Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're fine. So this is the part 10 of the inventory tutorial series that I'm doing in this channel, and in this part we're going to add the player inventory on the screen. So as you can see, if I press tab on the keyboard, now we have the player inventory on the screen with all the slots here, the scroll bar, so everything is working just fine. And if we press tab again, of course we close the player inventory. So this is what we're gonna do in this video. But before, if you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content. And without further ado, let's start. Okay, so now we need to add the inventories widget in the screen. So let me show you. If we go to widgets inventory, we have this inventories widget that we created in the last episode. So let me open so you can see. So we have this widget here. We need to add this in the screen. So we're going to do this in the HUD class. So let's close this and let's go to blueprints, bases, main, HUDs, and we have the BP main HUD here. So let's open this, and here we need to create the inventories HUD. So to do this, let's go to the sequence here and let's add another pin to this. So just click here on add pin, and we have another pin here. So first we are focusing on the game, then we are creating the HUD widget, and now we need to create the inventories widget. So let's drag from this then to here. Let's drag and type create widget. So there we go, this node here. Let's select the inventories widget here in the class. Let's type WB inventories. So let's select this. And of course, we need to give this a owning player. So because we are in the HUD class, we need to get the owning player. So for this, just right click and type get owning player controller. This one, get owning player controller. Let's get this and connect on the owning player. And now, of course, we need to save a reference to this widget in a variable. So let's create this variable. Here in variables, just click on this plus icon and let's name this inventories HUD like this. And of course, the type of this will be the type of the WB inventories that we created. So here in the type, just type WB inventories, this one, WB inventories. Let's get an object reference to this. Let's compile and save, and now we need to set this variable. So just hold Alt on the keyboard and drag to create a set node like this. Connect the execution pin and connect the return value on the variable here. So now we are creating the widget. So we need to add this on the screen now. To do this is really simple. We just need to get the reference for the HUD, which is this one here. Let's drag from this and type add to viewport like this. And now we are creating the widget. We are setting a reference of this widget in a variable, and we are adding this widget on the screen. So basically the inventory will always be in the screen. We will only toggle the visibility of the widget because toggling the visibility of the widget is cheaper than creating the widget at each time. So we are creating only in the beginning, then through the game we will only toggle the visibility of the widget. So now that we created this, let's select everything and comment creating the inventories widget like this. And of course you can comment by selecting the nodes that you want and pressing C on the keyboard. So now we have, let's compile and save. Now we have a reference to the inventories HUD here in the main HUD class, and of course we can access this main HUD class from anywhere in the project because this is the base HUD class that we added in the word settings. So if I go to word settings here in the game mode, as you can see in the HUD class, we have the BP main HUD. That means that we can access this from anywhere in the project. So now that we created this widget here, we need to create a way to communicate with this widget, to set the main player inventory, to update the slots, and of course to toggle the visibility of this inventory. So let's do this now. Okay, so because I don't think using casting is a good way, a good practice, so in the beginning of the series we created an interface to do all the communications with the HUD. And as you can see here in the interfaces, we have the hide interaction message and show interaction message that we implemented here. So now we need to create 3 more functions in this interface to do the communications with the inventory. So to do this, let's go here to the folders. Let's go to blueprints, interfaces, and let's open the BPI HUD interface. So let's open this. As you can see, we have these 2 functions here. Let's create 3 more functions. So the first one will be a function to set the main player inventory. So just click on this add here function, and let's name this function set main player inventory, like this. And of course this function needs one input, which is the inventory. So let's add one input here. Of course the name of this will be inventory, like this, and the type of this would be BPC inventory, so the component for the inventory that we created. So let's get an object reference for this. Let's compile and save. And now let's create the second function. So the second function, let's click on add here again and function. This function will be a function to update the player main slots. So let's name this update player main slots. And again, as I said in the last episode, main is because this is the main slots for the player, because in your game you may have backpack, for example, so you have another inventory. So here we are creating functions to update and set the main player inventory, right? So now we have this update player main inventory. This doesn't need any input or output, so let's go to the next function and last function of this video. So let's click on add function. This one will be to toggle the visibility of the inventory. So let's name this toggle player inventory, like this. And again, this doesn't need any input or output. So let's compile and save. And now we need to implement this function in the BP main HUD class, because as you can see, if we go back to this BP main HUD, we have the functions here that we can implement. So let's implement this now. Okay, so let's start with the set main player inventory. So here in the BP main HUD class, you just need to double click on the function to implement. So let's double click on the set main player inventory here. And as you can see, we have the event. So let me just drag this to the upper part here, like this. And the first thing that I need to do is see if this inventory's HUD is a valid reference, because I will show you later in this video, but we're gonna call this function in the beginning of the game. So I need to know if this inventory's HUD is already ready for us to use. So let's drag a reference to this HUD here. And let's convert this to a validated get. So right click on this and click on convert to validated get, like this. So let's connect the execution pin here. And of course, if this is valid, we need to set the main player inventory. And as you may remember from the last episode, we created this function in the inventories HUD. So let me show you. If we go back to the widgets here, inventories, and if we open the WB inventories, here we have the player inventory, and if we go to the graph, we have the function to set the main player inventory. We created this here. So we just need to call this function through the reference of this inventory, and we created this reference here when we create this widget, and we set the variable. So of course, this variable here is the reference that we need to call this set main player inventory. So let's drag from this and just type set set main player inventory. So this one here, the call function, let's select this, and of course from is valid, so connect the is valid on the execution pin here. And of course this function asks for an inventory, and we have this as an input of this interface event here. So let's drag this on the function, There we go. So when we call this function, we will set the main player inventory in the HUD, so in the widget. So there we go. This is all that we need to do here. So let me just put this reroute a little bit to the side here, and let me add another one here. To add this reroute, you just need to double click on the line like this, and you add a reroute. Let me just delete this and connect here. There we go. So let's select all this node and let's comment setting main player inventory like this. And as I mentioned before, we have access to this BP main HUD through everything in the project. So from anywhere we can call this function. So we will call this function through the player inventory component to set itself as the inventory for the player widget, the player inventory widget. So there you go. Now let's implement the other ones. Okay, so now let's implement the update player main slots function. So let's double click on this, and we have the function in the graph, the event. So let me just put upper here like this, and this will be really simple as well. We just need to call this update player main function in the WB inventories class, so the widget. And of course we have the reference in this variable, so we just need to call this variable. So let's get a reference to this variable, and from this we just need to call the update player main inventory, so this one, the call function. So as you can see, we have the update player main slots in the BPI HUD. We need to call this one here, the call function, and not the BPI HUD. This we will call from anywhere else in the project, not from the BP main HUD. So let's call here the call function update player main inventory like this, and we just need to connect the execution pin. Simple as that. So let me just select everything here and comment update players main slots like this. So now we have a function in the BP main HUD that we can call from anywhere in the project and from any time in the game. So from any time we can call this function and update the player main slots. So when we drop an item or when we move an item from one slot to another, we will call this to update this slot to show the correct information. So there we go. Let's compile and save, and now we just need to implement the toggle player inventory. So let's do this. Okay, so to implement the toggle player inventory, first we need to create a function. So let me explain why I will create this function. So basically we need to toggle the visibility of this inventory's HUD, but in a full game we will probably have more than one widget that we need to toggle the visibility. So I need to create a function to toggle the visibility of any widget that we want, and not only the inventory's widget. So that's why I will create a function. So let's go here to functions, let's click on this plus icon, and let's name this toggle widget visibility. So let me just add the underscore here, toggle widget visibility like this. And of course this function will need an input, so the widget that we want to toggle the visibility. So let's click on the function here and let's add an input, and this will be the widget. So let's name widget, and the type of this will be user widget. I think this one, yeah, user widget. Let's get an object reference to this. Let's compile and save, and now let's start implementing this. So the first thing that I need to know here is if this widget is visible or not, because if it is visible, of course we need to make it invisible, and if it is invisible we need to make it visible. So we can know this by dragging a reference to the widget like this and simply asking is visible. So we have this is visible function here in the widget. So let's select this, and this will return a boolean, of course true if this widget is visible, and false if this widget is not visible. So let's connect this in a branch like this. Let's connect the execution pin here, and we need to implement both cases here, true and false. So let's start with the false. So this function will toggle the visibility. So if this widget is false, so if the is visible is false, we need to make it visible. To do this, let's drag from the widget here and let's type set visibility. So this one here, the widget set visibility. Let me put here and let's add a reroute like this. And let's connect from the false here in this set visibility. So basically, if this widget is not visible, we need to make it visible. So the new visibility here, of course, will be visible. So just select visible here. And of course, now we need to focus on this widget. To do this, we need to change the input mode. And to do this, we need to get the player controller. And of course, because we are in the main HUD class, we need to get the owning player controller. So here, let's right click and type get owning player controller like this. And from this owning player controller, we can set the input mode. So let's drag from this and type set input mode. And we need to set this to game and UI. So let's select this. Let's connect from this set visibility here, and now we need to connect a widget that we need to focus here, and of course is this one. So I will drag this reroute to the bottom here, and let's add another one here like this. From this, I will connect here and add a reroute. So basically, this widget is the widget that we want to focus now, and everything here we can leave as it is. So now we are focusing on this widget. Now we need to show the cursor to the player. So of course, when we open the inventory, we need to show the cursor. To do this, we can drag from the player controller as well. So let's drag from this, and we can type set show mouse cursor, this one. So let's select this, let's connect from the set input game and UI here, and of course the new value will be true. So just check this. Let me just add a reroute here like this, and in this function I want to return the new visibility of this widget, so if it is true or false. So let's select the, actually let's drag from this here, from this set node, and let's type return like this, and let's click on add return node like this, and we need to add an output to this. So let's add one, and the name of this will be visible like this. Let's add a question mark because this is a boolean, and let's change the type to boolean. And in this case, we are making the widget visible, so let's return true here. So basically, this is it for the false case here. So basically, if the widget is not visible, we are making this widget visible. So let me just show you one more thing here. If you want to pause the game when you open the inventory, after this here, you just need to call set game paused, this node here from the game category. So just click on this and just click on true here. So just check this paused value here, and the game will pause when you open the widget. But I don't want to do this, so I will delete this node and return the value after setting the cursor to show in the screen like this. So now we just need to implement the other way around. So basically, if this widget is already visible and we call this function, that means that we need to hide the widget. And to do this is really simple. Let me just put this a little bit on the front here and leave it a little bit to the side like this. So we need to set the visibility again. So from this widget here, let's drag up here and type set visibility like this. Let's connect from the true here. So basically, if the widget is visible, we will make it invisible. So here in the visibility, let's change this to collapsed like this. And now we just need to set the input mode again. So now we need to get the controller again. So here, let's right click and type get owning player controller. And from this, we just need to call this set input mode again, and this time we need to set input mode game only, like this. Let's connect the execution pin, and we don't need to do anything more here. Now let's hide the cursor. So again, from the get owning player controller, let's drag and type set show mouse cursor, and of course this time this will be false. Let me just add a reroute here like this. There we go. So now we just need to return the value here. So let's select this, press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste like this. Let's connect here, and of course this time the visible will be false. And this is basically the function. Let's compile and save. Now when we call this function and pass a widget, the widget will be if the widget is visible, we will hide the widget, and of course if the widget is not visible, we will show the widget. So there we go. Now let's compile and save. Let's close this function here. Now we can implement the toggle player inventory. So let's do this. Okay, so to implement, just double click on the toggle player inventory function here in the interface, and we have the event here. Let me just drag this to the upper part of the graph here. And the first thing that I need to do, of course, is toggle the visibility of this widget. So we create a function for this. So let's just get the toggle widget visibility here like this. Let's connect the execution pin here, and this asks for a widget to toggle. So of course we need to toggle the inventory's HUD. So let's drag the reference to this and connect on the widget here. There we go. And now we have a value here if this widget is currently visible or not, after toggling, of course. Now let's connect this on a branch like this, and for now we only need to do something in the true. Later in the series we will do something in the false. That's why I'm adding this branch here, but for now let's just do something in the true. And we need to update the player main inventory. So basically when we open the inventory, of course I need to update the slots with the correct info, so the current info of this inventory. And to do this, in this inventory's HUD we created the function to update the player main inventory. So we just need to call this. So from this reference, let's drag here and type update player main inventory. So this one, the call function update player main inventory. Let's get this and connect on the true here like this. Let me just add a reroute like this. And there we go. This is basically it. So let's select everything here. Let's comment and let's put toggle layers inventory like this. Let's compile and save, and there we go. Basically the BP main HUD now has all the functionality to display the inventory. So now we just need to create the actual input. So when we press a key on the keyboard, we just need to call this function to show the inventory, to display this inventory. So let's create this input now. Okay, so for this, the first thing that we need to do is set the player main inventory. Of course, we need to set this in the beginning of the game. So when we start the game, we need to set the player main inventory in the widget so we can display the correct inventory. And of course we need to do this only for the player inventory. The storage inventory, the loot inventory, and basically any other inventory, we will set the inventory as we open the inventory, so as we need. So when we open a chest, at that moment we will set the chest inventory. But for the player inventory, we need to do this in the beginning of the game. So to do this, we need to do in the component itself. So let's go to the components folder here. Let's open the BPC inventory component, and we need to do this. Let me just close this function here. We need to do this in the initialize inventory function. So this one here. In this function, we are creating all the slots that we need, as you may remember. So now, after creating this slot, we need to set the main player inventory. So to do this, let me just select these nodes here and put a little bit to the right side here. We need to do this, of course, in the completed, because we need to do this after creating the slots. So from this completed here, we need to see if this instance of this component is the instance of the player inventory. And to see this, we have the inventory type. So we just need to drag this inventory type here. So let's get a reference to this. And we can do a switch on this inventory type. So let's drag this and type switch. So this one, the switch on enum inventory types. Let's select this, and as you can see, we have all the types here. We have the player, the storage, and the loot. So basically we need to do this if this inventory type is player. So let's connect from the complete here, from the completed, let's connect on this switch like this. And of course, if this is the player inventory, we need to set the main player inventory, and we created the function for this in the BP main HUD. As you can see, we have this function here, and it is an interface. So let's go back to the inventory component, and we just need to get the HUD class. As I mentioned before, we can get the HUD class from anywhere in the project. We just need to get the player controller to do this. So right click and type get player controller, and this time only get player controller. We don't need the owning player controller here. So get player controller, this one. From the player controller we can get the HUD. So from this, let's drag and type get HUD. Simple as that. Let's select this, and because we have an interface for the HUD, from this we can directly call the set main player inventory from the BPI HUD. So let's select this, and there we go, we have the function here. So let's connect from the player on this. So only if this inventory is the player inventory, we will call this function from the HUD. And of course we need to connect the inventory here. So the inventory is this one, this instance of this inventory. So we just need to right click and type self. So we need to get a reference to self. Let's get this and connect on the inventory here like this. So let's compile and save. And now in the beginning of the game, because we are creating this in the initialize function, and we call the initialize function in the begin play, as you can see. So in the begin play, we are creating the slots that we need for the player inventory or for any other inventory. And after this, we are asking if this inventory is the player one. So if it is, we are setting the main player inventory in the HUD. So now the HUD has the correct information for the player inventories. Okay, so now we just need to toggle the visibility of the player inventory when we press a key in the keyboard. So let's do this now. Okay, so to toggle the visibility of the player inventory, first we need the input. So let's go back to the folders here. Let's open the input folder, default, actions, and let's create a new action. So right click, go to input, input action, and I will name this IA for input action, inventory like this. And there we go. Now we don't need to do nothing with this because we are not pausing the game. But if you do pause your game when you open the inventory, you need to open this action here, and you need to check this function here, so the trigger when paused. If you pause your game when you open the inventory, you need to make sure that you checked this function here. But because we are not pausing the game in this system, I will leave this as false. So let me just uncheck this, save, and let's close this. Now we just need to add this input mapping, this input action actually in the mapping context. So let's go back to the default folder here. Let's open the input mapping context default, this one, and let's add a new mapping here. So just click on this plus icon next to mappings. Let's click on this, and in this new mapping, let's select the IA inventory like this. And for the key, I will select tab on the keyboard. So just click on this keyboard here and press tab or any key that you want. For me is tab, and there we go. Now when we press tab in the keyboard, this action will be triggered. So now let's save this, close, and let's implement this input. Okay, so to implement the input, let's open the character blueprint. So here in the blueprints folder, let's open the blueprints folder, bases, main, characters, and let's open the BP main character. Let's open this. And here in the event graph, let's create the input. So basically, let's right click and type IA inventory like this. So we have this event here, the enhanced actions event, this one, IA inventory. Let's select this, and from the completed we need to toggle the player inventory. And as you may remember from this video, we created this as an interface for the BP main HUD. So if we go back here to the HUD, we implemented the toggle player inventory here. So we just need to get again the HUD. So to do this, just right click and type get player controller like this, and from the player controller we can get the HUD. So drag from this and type get HUD. There we go. So from this we can call the interface function to toggle the player inventory. So from this, just type toggle player inventory. So there we go. And let's connect from the completed here. So from this, just connect on the toggle player inventory, and there we go. Let's select this and comment toggle inventory like this. And there we go. This is basically it. Now if we play the game, we should see the player inventory on the screen. So let's try this. But before, I forgot to add the BPC inventory component to the BP main character. So as you can see, I'm in the character blueprint here. We need to add the inventory component to this. So here in the components, let's add a new one, and let's type BPC inventory. There we go. I will leave the name as it is. So now we just need to select the inventory component and change the variables here as we need. So the inventory type, of course, will be player for this. We can select storage and loot here, but of course for this one is player, so let's leave as player. And we can change the slots count. So for the player, I will put maybe 16 here, so the player will have 16 slots in the main slots container. So now let's compile and save, and if we hit play, we should see the player inventory. So let's go back to the map here. Let me increase the screen and hit play so we can see. And as you can see, we have the inventory on the screen, but we don't have the slots. And of course, the inventory is open by default, so we need to change this. So let's go back to the folders here, and let's open the inventories widget. So let's go to the widgets folder, inventory, and let's open the WB inventories widget. So here it is. So let's go back to the design, and of course we need to set this to hidden by default. Actually, we need to set this to collapsed by default, so it is hidden in the game. So let's select the WB inventories here, so the top one, and let's go to the behavior here, and here in the visibility, let's change this to collapsed. Let's select this, so let's compile and save, and now let's hit play again. So let's increase the size here, and you can increase the size of the viewport by pressing F11 in the keyboard. So let's just press F11 to increase the size, and let's hit play by pressing Alt P on the keyboard. And there we go. As you can see, we don't have the inventories here in the screen, but if we press tab on the keyboard, there we go. We have the inventory with the slots, and we can scroll down because we have 16 slots here, but the container stays in the same size, so we have the scroll bar to scroll down with the slots, as you can see. And if we press tab again, the inventory is hidden, as you can see, and we can do this while we move the character, as you can see, because we are not pausing the game, so we are moving the character. We have the inventory open, and we have the mouse to do anything that we want here in the inventory. So there we go, everything is working just fine. And that's all for this video. So as you can see, now we have the inventory working, so we can open the inventory, and this is working with all the widgets that we created in the last episode. So now we have the inventory here, we have the slots container, we have the slots. Of course it is empty because we don't have anything in the inventory, and for now we can't collect anything, but we will work on this in the next videos. But for this video, this is all. So if you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content. And as always, thank you for watching, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.